Hi, my name is Jake Hoekstra. I'm currently the RD of Red Cloud, Snowmass, and the duplexes. For this training video, we're going to begin our discussion on the community development model. So first question, why? Why do we have a community development model? What's its purpose? What's our purpose as Residence Life? Our simple aim in Residence Life is to build Christ-centered community. The RA role that you're filling is both an experience to be had and an experience to give and to offer your residents. And so we hope you can navigate balancing those two things well. What's the what of our community development model? What is community? What does community mean? Community is a construction of characteristics, not merely just a place where people live together. Some of the characteristics that establish the foundation of a community and a community is built upon are self-awareness, adventure and risk, communication, trust, commitment, and eventually that community develops. So you can kind of see the succession there, starting with each individual member of the community coming in, hopefully with somewhat a baseline of self-awareness established, and that will hopefully grow and develop as time goes on. Start adventuring together, risking together. Communication stems out of that. Eventually you build trust, and the hope is to get that buy-in and commitment of all of your community members, all of your residents, to start forming that community. Community is all about a sense of a belonging. We all have this drive and desire and need to feel like we belong somewhere. And for ourselves, for you as an RA, for your residents, we should all be asking ourselves, as a member of community, what's my role and what are my responsibilities in and to this community? How are we going to go about building and establishing and sustaining communities on our campus? So we have a number of levels of strategies that we use through our department to try to accomplish this. One, programs purposefully planned for all campus, all hall, student life, and for your stairwells. Story times and life groups where we incorporate spiritual formation, sharing testimonies, and doing devotions and scripture and worship and prayer together. Social events, the more informal or spontaneous things that happen. Also family dinners, intramurals, going to concerts, going out to restaurants, museums, parks, hiking, you know, the list goes on. Conversations, doing one-on-ones, grabbing coffee, praying together, asking your residents how they're doing, setting aside that quality, intentional time. Conversations in small groups, conversations spontaneously as they come up, passing each other on the sidewalk or after class, dropping in your residents' apartments to say hi. And then that can be more intentional as well, you know, focusing on specific topics. Another area where you're going to be more involved as a student leader, especially as an RA, is helping your residents navigate conflict as it comes up. Roommate conflict, roommate mediations, conflict resolution, conversations that look like that. Other things that are optional, potentially stairwell retreats, random getaways. It's not an exhaustive list, but it highlights some of the main responsibilities that you'll have as an RA. So programs, we'll start out focusing on programs. We have 3 all-campus Residence Life hosted programs, or that we participate in and partner with campus activities or other departments. One is Moonlight Volleyball. We want everyone involved participating in that. That is a requirement for you as an RA. Boat races and Deck the Halls. And then we also expect that each living area RD and their team of RAs will plan one all hall or area program once per semester. Programs continued. These are the expectations per semester. So you're going to be planning and proposing and executing 6 programs per semester, 3 of which are going to be piggybacked, partnering with other student life departments. So we want to see at least one joint effort piggybacking off of something campus activities is doing, something campus ministries is doing, and something athletics is doing. And the intention and hope here is not that you just show up and leave and that's it, but that you're putting thought into what can I do to expand what's already happening that these other departments are hosting. So maybe, like, for example, a campus activities event, you all dress up and have a theme or go together, do like a debrief after for like a campus ministries event. You know, get creative with it, be intentional with it. And then in addition to those, planning 3 of your own individual wide open sky's the limit programs just for your stairwell specifically. And if you want, you can partner with another RA or collaborate, work together. But that's 3 opportunities for you to get really creative and really hopefully identify what interests your particular stairwell might have. So again, 6 programs required. Something that we have questions about every year is, can we do an initiation with our floor? We don't like the word initiation. Historically, you know, that can have some negative connotation and create maybe not the atmosphere we're looking for. So as you look at your requirement of 6 programs, think about doing a launch program, is what we like to call it, to really start the year off right. For program administration, RA submits program proposal through MyCCU, which I believe will be a new portal this year. So if you don't know about that yet, we'll have more information for you coming soon. It must be completed at least 1 week in advance before your program actually happens. Your RD or ARD or joint effort will review the program proposal, provide any necessary feedback, and approve or deny your proposal. So continued partnership and working with your RD and ARD for supervision. Once approved, the RA will execute the program and then afterwards debrief that program, typically in a one-on-one conversation to let us know how that went. And we can talk through what went well, what maybe could have gone differently, and hopefully that will be beneficial for you moving forward as you plan more programs. And we'll keep track of your completed programs to make sure you're fulfilling the requirements as well. Components of a program. So as you're starting to think through what are some great ideas, what are some programs I'd like to do for myself, for my residents, for my floor, these are components that we really want to see you guys incorporate when planning your programs. So hopefully you're going to check off as many of these boxes as you can, and that's going to just kind of help guide and direct to make sure that this is a really you know, quality time together, intentional time that's focused on really developing those relationships and connecting your residents to each other and with yourself. So again, those components that we're looking for are Christ-centered, shared experience, working and playing together, forming personal identity, self-awareness, embracing differences or diversity, others awareness, open communication, presenting challenge, establishing trust, creating communal affinity, and shared responsibility and ownership of the community that you're building. Afterwards, talking about program review and just a quick recap of what we've talked about so far. RAs submit the program proposal for the 6 programs each semester, 3 that are partnered with other student life departments, and 3 that are individual for yourself or partnering with other RAs. RAs must be considerate of how the program builds your community and be prepared to debrief with your RD or ARD, again, typically in that one-on-one conversation format. All right, now we're shifting to story time. For those of you that are going to be freshman RAs or first year RAs, the focus is storytelling primarily, with an emphasis on sharing testimonies or life stories, and then perhaps additional time for devotions, or maybe if nobody has a story prepared to share that week, you can be planning something to supplement in for there not being a story time that week. Mandatory requirements expected is that it's going to happen every week on Monday nights at 9 o'clock. It is 1 hour. Limit your residents to sharing for 30 minutes so that there's time for questions and dialogue and prayer afterwards. RAs and RARs should be the first ones to share their stories and model for your residents what that's going to look like. And students should share their stories with you as the RA before they share it at story time, so that you can kind of coach them on how to best share their story, make sure it's appropriate, make sure they're having healthy boundaries with that. Kind of more autonomous, more flexibility and freedom for you is brainstorming a potential name for your story time. So instead of just calling it story time, you can call it something cool. Like for example, the Sandlot often calls it the dugout. Creating a theme or clarifying your values, making sure you've got a plan, you're being intentional, and establishing routines for affirmation and prayer after someone shares their story. All right, for life group, for those of you who are going to be upperclassmen RAs, this shifts from a focus or emphasis on story sharing more towards devotions and fellowship, worship and prayer, Bible study. And then you can still have people share their stories as part of your life groups as well, if that's something that someone is interested in doing. Again, mandatory requirements, weekly gatherings. You have flexibility to decide day and time and what that looks like. Meeting for at least 1 hour, and you're co-leading that with a designated RDC from campus ministries. So that's going to be a good opportunity, again, for our department to be partnering with campus ministries. And then with that partnership, we ask that you guys plan on meeting at least once a week to work together and plan out what your life groups are going to look like. Again, more autonomous, you can choose the day or night, time, what that looks like, casting vision, clarifying values, and how to facilitate what that time looks like more specifically. Real quick, story time and life group. Just important for you to know, canceling story time or life group is not allowed. Should happen every week. Unless you have extenuating circumstances, you can discuss that with your RD to get permission. And then also explore alternative ideas during breakout training sessions. So sometime during training or when you have off time, we really look forward to you guys setting some time aside to plan through what you want your story time and life group to look like this year. And for those of you that are upperclassmen with life groups, we'll also give you a chance during the leadership conference to connect with your RDCs and start partnering with them and planning through that. All right, so jumping back a little bit, we covered programs. Now we're going to go into what we identify more as events. So to kind of give you an idea of the difference between programs and events, a program, how we would define a program is something being planned that's individually focused and can't be done by residents without you. So a program should have that RA planning, intentionality. You're facilitating an experience that residents typically can't just go out and accomplish on their own. Events, on the other hand, is something that happens and it's more socially focused, and it's just easier access, something that can be done and you're kind of tagging along or helping facilitate it, but it's not as formal. Both can and ought to be intentional opportunities for growth, but the facilitation, particularly of programs, is the difference, as we covered before. So now getting more into events, social events, encourage for all RAs to do. This is outside of your requirements. You don't have to do a program proposal or paperwork or anything like that. We do ask that maybe you just indicate it on your weekly report to keep us updated on what's happening, what's going on. You know, we like to celebrate those cool things that are happening with you. So this is just a kind of a generic list of events that are happening at CCU. So I'm not going to go through everything, but if you want to, you can refer back to this just so you're aware of what's typically on the calendar for social events on CCU's campus or that CCU hosts, like the fall dance. Another list I'm not going to get into, again, you can come back and look, but this is just a lot of ideas that we have collected for you of things to do and places to go around Denver, as well as parks and hiking opportunities that aren't too far of a drive from campus. Social events continued. Other activities that weren't on the other lists, again, feel free to refer back to this, get lots of good ideas for those more informal events and outings that you can do with your residents. All right, we're gonna cover just a few quick nuts and bolts in regards to programming. And one of the biggest things is your floor budget. As an RA, you get a budget. It's right around $300 for the year, and you can split that up $150 per semester or just $300 for the year. You can work that out with your RD and see what their preference is. We do ask that you use your budget. It's there for a reason. We encourage you to be really creative and thoughtful in how you use that budget. This is money that comes from students, and we wanna be good stewards of that and bless them with that budget in return. So if you are purchasing with your personal money and you want to get reimbursed, there's a process for that. You can complete the reimbursement form in Residence Life, attach a receipt to the form, and turn that into Patty Prater, our administrative assistant. If you're using your RD's credit card, make sure you know what their process is for checking out their credit card using that. Again, completing receipt information. And we'll get into more of these details as you go through your office training. But just so you have an idea, you attach the receipt to that receipt information form and turn it into a gray box in our offices. All right, registration. So for those of you, when you're looking to submit the program proposal, there are a couple of things to be aware of. One, programs or events on campus that incorporate more than 2 stairwells. We need to go through campus activities process to let them know so that they have an idea of how many students are involved, what facilities or resources are being used, what other things are scheduled or planned for that moment in time in the calendar. So for that, again, you go into what's now my.ccu.edu. I think, again, we're gonna be telling you more about the new portal that we'll be using soon. So yeah, student life, campus activities, they're gonna have links there for you to register your event. Select events, planning, fundraising, just fill out the information there. If it's a program and you still need to submit a program proposal. So you have to go through both processes of our process in Residence Life as well as campus activities. And if you're looking for assistance in advertising your program for your stairwell, because you want to incorporate more than just your residents in your stairwell, like for instance, the SOBI party that they do every year, you can work with our ARD who's in charge of our Res Life social media account. And then campus activities also has resources and ability to help you with that advertisement as well. Okay, we're getting down to the end here. Very lastly, some of you may have heard of this, some of you might not know, but we do have stairwell retreats that happen occasionally from year to year, and that is an optional thing that you can do in terms of programming and community building. If you're interested in that, connect with your RD and you can work out requesting a budget for that. We don't have specific money allocated to that, but that's something we do within our bigger budget umbrella have room for. And so this can be a really good idea if you feel like it's something that's gonna really benefit your community, or like either your residents are really excited about and interested in, that's great. Or if you feel like maybe it could help be a catalyst to jumpstart community building because things are moving kind of slow. Just having that in mind is a good potential option. And that wraps up our training video presentation on our community development model. Thank you.